Hi, welcome to RCKicks. On today's show, well, we're going to be doing an annual review like I did before, but it's not annual. It's been longer than that because time moves on well too fast. I've just went back and I watched the last video, and that was in June 2021, and that is when I'd been doing RCKicks full-time for a year, and I was supposed to do another one in June, but here we are in almost November. So it's been 2 years, 4 to 5-ish months since the last one. Time just flies on like crazy. So yeah, I've been doing YouTube now for 2.4 years full time. Jesus, really? That's kind of scary to say it like that. Has it been that long already? So I went back and I reviewed the last video, and it was really interesting. It was really to see the cars that had come and gone, and the cars that were in the background, and ones I've sold on, and new ones that have come. I noticed the Schumacher Mission that went off to a new owner, and apparently that's going racing this weekend. And then there was the Predator 10th technology that went off to America. I couldn't turn down that offer, so yeah, I had to say goodbye to that one, and I do miss it, and I do hanker over another one. The X11 would be lovely. And yeah, prices are a bit stupid, so I don't know whether I'll ever get one of those, but never say never. And what else went? Oh, the Tomahawk, my Viewership Tomahawk. So it's really interesting watching it back and seeing what's gone, because you kind of forget after a while, and then you realise, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember, yeah. So the good, let's cover the good aspects of how things have gone over the last year and a bit. So the highest highlight that I have is we did the RCKicks meet at Force Raceway, and I think that was in May this year. That was epic. It was the first one. We really wasn't sure how it was going to pan out, and we kind of planned a little bit. Rebecca came along with me, and we did 2 days at Force Raceway, and it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. There's a whole video on it. It actually panned out really well considering it was our first one, and it gave us a real idea of what we want to do next and how it's going to kind of become. It's an RC car show. When I was there and I was talking to people, that's kind of how the vibe kind of went, that people brought stuff to show off and then drive around the track, but not untimed, just to actually experience a track and to drive things. You know, sometimes people buy pan cars and stuff like that, you just can't drive them. It was just really nice to meet lots of people with lots of different kind of takes on the RC hobby. Some people like vintage stuff, some people like shelf queens, some people like, you know, trucks and the tanks, and it was all a mixture, and I thought that was the essence of what made it brilliant. It wasn't just about turning up, setting lap times and seeing who's the fastest around the track and who's got the lowest digits, and that I think was brilliant. So there you go, that was my massive highlight, and yes, we will do one again. I'd like to do 3 a year, but I'm really struggling to find other places, somewhere in the Midlands and somewhere down in London, but we will do it again at Force Raceway. Hopefully they'll let us come up there again, and we'll do another meet, and that will be epic, probably the same time next year. But we really want to arrange somewhere in the Nottingham area, or somewhere down in London as well. North London area would be brilliant, because obviously it can be quite far for people to travel, as that is just brilliant. I had a great time. It was really good. Anyway, so that was my main highlight. Minimum income. For a long time I've been pushing to try and achieve the minimum income for the channel so that we can sustain it, and we went over the original budget. We now hit, every month we scrape over it by £100-200, so we did hit that target this year to actually get to that. There is a caveat, but that's in the bag, but we'll stick with the positive for now. So it was brilliant to see the channels actually bringing in a bit more revenue and becoming a little bit more sustainable. Channel views have been going well. They've been slowly growing up, so it's good to see. The ratio between the subscribers and the views that we have is really good. There's channels that are twice the size in subscribers that have the same kind of views that we do. Obviously a big part of that is the amount of content we put out. We seem to have, I'm putting out content quite a lot, but we seem to have like a very hardcore group of people who watch the channel. And they watch all the episodes. That's kind of how it seems to be. Comment below, let me know if you're one of those people, because thanks a lot. So content's coming out thick and fast, and that I think is helping with the views. That the people that watch the channel all the time jump on every video, and we seem to hit the same sort of numbers on almost all videos, so that's fantastic. Patrons, the RCKicks patrons are unbelievable. We have 80 RCKicks patrons, and without them, we'd have closed our doors long ago. And we seem to really have a hardcore selection of patrons who really do hang around and help the channel in many other ways as well. They're commenting a lot, and they're active in the RCKicks Facebook group, and they're really on board. And then I try to do giveaways and stuff like that as well, and they've helped out with some giveaways that we'll come on to later. So I'm trying to give value for money in the patrons, as they are so valuable. The patrons that we have make it. It wouldn't work without them at the moment, for sure. So to all the patrons, the RCKicks patrons who stick around and continue to contribute, the channel is basically down to you from that side of it. So big thanks to them, especially as things are getting a little bit tougher. They still hang around, and that's great. The old studio, another tick box. The old studio has now been completely changed into an office, and that's where I do all my editing now. So getting that all finished, putting new flooring down, painting all the walls and everything, getting rid of those 150 holes that I drilled in the wall. Yeah, that was fun. Rebecca was really pleased about that. So that's all done and dusted now. There was lots of pressure. I've got a son who's now doing GCSEs, needed a place to do his computer schoolwork. So we've got new desks. I've got a new editing desk. So that was ticked off. That was a lot of work, but we got it done. New flooring, all office flooring and all that kind of stuff. So that was another big one. That's behind the scenes. There's actually quite a lot that goes on behind the scenes that's just part of the channel, but not directly what you see kind of thing. So getting that ticked off. 4K video, I've only just started doing that, but this year I really wanted to try and push to get to 4K. Just, you know, it's all small little marginal gains to polish the channel up and that kind of stuff. But you've got to have the whole... You've got to have a camera, you've got to have cameras that will do 4K well, then you've got to have editing computers that are powerful enough to do 4K editing, and you know, and then you've got to have editing software. So I've upgraded the editing software. Well, I will be. I'm using their free 3-month trial at the moment, but I will be getting some new editing software as well, because my new Mac that I have will actually do it. So that was all, you know, all marginal improvements over the year, and they're all targets that I wanted to try and achieve. This year we did, 2.2 million views in the last 12 months, which doesn't sound like a lot when you go and see YouTube's main page and like one video's got 1 million views. But for a tiny little channel like this, 2.2 million views is a big step in the right direction for sure. Working with some bigger manufacturers this year, I've managed to have 1 or 2 times where I've started to work with some other bigger manufacturers that I've not worked with before. So that's really nice to see the channel starting to show up on the radar of the bigger manufacturers, and being able to do some work with them really helps the channel out, as it allows me to bring content that I just wouldn't be able to without them, due to budget restraints and things like that. So that was a big step forward. Sometimes it's easy to forget these things happen. Channel support from viewers has definitely increased massively. There's been so many people now contact me and say, hey, I've got this project, or I've got this car that I don't use anymore. Would you like to get it on the show? And they donate it to the show, and that is a lifeline, because if I get given a kit from a viewer, it allows me then to spend money doing upgrades and modifications and things like that. A classic example at the moment is we've got the Cozzy that was gifted. That's now on the show, so I can put some money that would have cost me to get that into upgrading it, which is more content, which is interesting. The motorbike that I've just dropped, the video dropped today, that I wouldn't have been able to do. The Blazing Blazer content, which is is an exclusive for that car. Now that was a total gift to the show. There is no way I could have done that level of content, and we now have documented build of a Blazing Blazer and all the quality of it. It will be back on the show. It's currently being professionally painted up. It's going to be the best one in the country. It's too nice. So as soon as I get that back, I can put the decals on it, all the drivers being painted up and things, and then we're going to add some of the options like the metal roof and everything, and it's going to be brilliant, and it's going to come back on the show. And also got to find some electronics for it. Also, we did some really good giveaways this year that I couldn't have done it without gifted the C11, which came from an RCKicks Patreon that we gave away on the show, and the Blazing Blazer, like we covered, the sand rail that I built on the show that came from Night Customs. Night Customs sent me that was a brilliant one. There's no way I could have done that on the show, so a massive thanks to them as well. And overall, it just allows me to bring much more bigger content. Also, I've seen a few of the other smaller channels are getting the same love from you, so that's fantastic, as there's a lot of people that are in these small little RC channels desperately trying to make content and putting in hours and hours of work, and it's fantastic to see more support going to them. So that's a big thing I've seen over the last year, that I've seen those people getting more kits from viewers and other manufacturers and stuff to bring out more content. So that's a lovely thing to see. Another thing, the actual collection, the RCKicks collection, obviously some cars have gone, but some have come, and some of them have been absolutely amazing, and Halo cars that I really wanted to get in this year. The Blazing Blazer was one. My Cat short wheelbase that when I sold some of my other cars, I invested in getting that. I really wanted one of those, and I was lucky enough to get one. So that's joined the collection, and didn't think I was going to get one of those ever, really. Then there's my RC10 Worlds car, new in box, that I actually got to build on the show. I sold my another RC10 so that I could invest that money into that, because these are now so expensive new in box. So I got to build one, because when you buy these old cars, they've obviously built already. So to actually be able to build one on the show was brilliant and a lovely experience, and I got to add it, as well as I got some professional bodies painted up for it, and I'm really chuffed. And my RC10 collection has grown with my B2, my B3, super lucky to get those, so I can have a nice collection and look after them. What else do we get? The bike that I've just been sent, that is a great little something a bit different that I probably would never have got on the show. That is going to be a really interesting one for me, as well as like I got my tank. That was a target for this year, to get a Tamiya tank on the show and add it to collection, as well as the truck, which was almost a year ago now that I did the truck build, which I need to do all the inside. I still haven't done it, but to bring more RC content on the show, not just focus on the latest and greatest Tamiyas, for instance, but to do a bit of everything. And have a whole range, because I love doing everything. I need to do more planes. I started doing planes, and then they take up a lot of room. I've got a plane to bring on the show soon that's been sitting waiting. Storage is a bit of an issue, but we'll get on to that. So that's pretty much the year from a plus point. And when I look back at all those things, it actually was a really good year, so I'm really chuffed. And I think it's good to stop and actually think back of how things have gone, because it's very easy to get caught up in it and then start focusing on the challenges, and without actually stopping and thinking of all the positives. So yeah, it's been really good. Now for the bad stuff. Luckily, it's much shorter. Sub count is much slower. For some reason, I don't know whether things are changing where people just don't subscribe. I know the algorithms changed a lot, and even if you're subscribed to a channel, if you don't watch a few of their videos, the algorithm will pull those videos away from you, so you just don't get notified. So even if you do subscribe, if you don't go and watch those videos, they disappear, and then they feed in other ones. And I can tell that when I'm interested in something that's very different, I'll go and I'll start looking at those videos, and before I know it, all my RC threads, that, you know, all the RC channels suddenly are all disappearing, even though I'm subscribed to them. So I think YouTube's changed its algorithm quite a lot to be more focused on just giving you and feeding you stuff more than, oh, I subscribe to those 10 channels. But obviously, if you watch those channels regularly, they'll still be there, but it's very quick to pull them away. So I think when you're a small channel, that is a bit of a challenge. The minimum income that was hit was fantastic. I had that set for a while. Now, obviously, when I started doing this 24/7, I did it way too early, but there was other factors in it as well. I think I started doing this full time when I had like 7,000 subscribers, and that's not the way to do it. Really, you need to be doing it when you hit 100,000 subscribers. Oh, a bit like Tomley RC is just about to hit his 100,000, and he's now gone full time at YouTube. So I take my hat off to him. He's absolutely crushing it, and he is a massive inspiration to see that he is really be doing it. He's got his own unit now. He's got his studio. It's all moving forward for him. And he did it the much more practical way, not doing it when you've got 6,000 subscribers. And his channel is blowing up all the time, but he puts in some serious effort. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Now he can turn his attention to it full time. So a massive congratulations, man. That was a lot of hard work. The minimum income for the channel was hit. Unfortunately, things have got so insane in the UK now. Inflation is now running at 10.1. Obviously, this was never on the radar of the channel. So we were just starting to pull ahead from it and making it stable. And now everything has got so expensive. The electricity to run the studio, the food, you know, all the stuff to sustain myself, the electricity, the gas, the water, all this kind of stuff has gone through the roof. So it's kind of pushed the goalpost back a bit, which is a real shame, because we were like, I had a real target to hit it, and then I knew we were going to be sustainable, and then the channel can keep growing. And now that line has been pushed back, which is a real kick to the teeth, really. So now we're back kind of where we were a year and a half ago, where it's like a struggle to kind of try and grow the channel fast again, to try and get to a point where it's possible to sustain it. And we're now back in jeopardy again, and quite a lot, because obviously when I was working I had savings and stuff like that, which has now all been gone because it's been used up. So yeah, really frustrating that the channel is now back in jeopardy again, when I was almost at the line that we're going to be okay. But that's working for yourself. There's ups and downs. Another thing is the costs of RC has gone through the roof over the last few years, as kits, vintage stuff has all got really expensive. So that's again been a real challenge for the show. When I first started it, like 3 or whatever many years ago, kits were still reasonably priced. You could pick up an Avanti for a couple of £100, 250 quid, where now it's like £500, and all the parts were a lot cheaper. So it became more and more of a challenge to actually do restorations. Didn't make financial sense at all. It was better just to buy a built one that's all fully restored, or Shelf Queen, and then have that. But it doesn't make great content. But then if I try and restore something, it ends up costing me twice what it's worth. And then it financially didn't make sense either, which is a real shame, because my core thing that I love producing content-wise is restoring vintage stuff. I love that, you know, getting all the bits in and then getting it on the show. A bit like I did my Terra Conqueror. That I had a blast with that. That was really good. But I'd actually gathered all those pieces a long time ago, and it had been sitting waiting, so it didn't really cost me much to then bring that all together. Whereas if I was doing that now and I was buying all the parts, it would have been way too expensive. So if the things change where people stop buying because inflation is so high and the RC kind of contracts, the RC hobby contracts, then maybe the prices of a lot of the cars and stuff will come down from their all-time highs, which would then kind of help me be able to do more sort of content, as well as people have been sending in stuff. So that helps a lot with the base price of doing a restoration, for instance. So that is also an ongoing challenge with as well. Yes, I'm working with some of the bigger manufacturers, but it's only little bits here and there. It's not all the time. So hopefully that will grow in 2023. But then I don't know how things are going to go with where the big manufacturers, if they're not selling as much, will they then turn to do more advertising, or will they pull back? There's always that thing of, when you're not selling as much units that you were used to, the first thing you do is stop advertising your advertising budget. So that could be a problem. Whereas normally, it should be the other way. If you're not selling more units, you need to do more marketing and more advertising, to actually grab what is available. So it depends on the mentality of the manufacturer. So 2023 is a bit up in the air on where that's going to go, as well as the revenue that we get from advertising from YouTube. So it's in flux. Now, worst case scenario, I'll probably end up doing some part-time work and then lowering the amount of content that I bring out. But I know that then damages the channel, especially as the kind of part-time work that I would do would take me traveling quite a lot if I get back into my old field. So I'm desperately trying not to go down that road, as the channel is the most important thing, really. So keeping it going. So I think that pretty much covers all the main challenges, negative side. So there isn't that much negative. It's just mainly the outside influences that have been a problem. If we were like 2 years ago, before we had all the inflation and everything like that, the channel would be in a great shape, just not growing quite as fast as I'd like. So if you do watch the show, please like and subscribe. And if you want to support the show, you can do it in many different ways, or any small RC channel that you like. Comment, share, thumbs up in the videos, watch the whole videos when you can. If you can spare the odd £1 or so, head over to their Patreon, or if you've got an old car, vintage car in your loft that you just don't use or see any value, offer it to your favorite RC channel, and you know, you could help them out that way. There's lots of different ways to do it. And to all the big manufacturers, don't forget the little guys that are doing their channels. Don't just always go to your default massive RC channels, you know, because you'll only end up with 1 or 2 channels, and that will be kind of it. So there you go. Anyway, I'm ranting on. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in a year when we'll do this again. I promise it will be a year, not a year and 4 months. Bye bye.